Hey everyone, this is Fawn with Navigating Gluten Free, and we're just figuring out how to navigate this gluten-free life together. So what I did was I took a bunch of flours that contain gluten and I mixed them all up and kind of got gluten everywhere, and I saw how much water you have to add to 1 cup of flour in order to make it go to different stages of dough, right? So we took it to crumbles and then to a dough like you would imagine for like bread. And then a thick batter like a pancake batter, and the thick batter is more like a cake batter or brownie batter. And then the thin batter is like the pancake batter, okay? And I just wanted to see how much liquid it took to take 1 cup of flour to each of these stages. And then if we know that, then when we're replacing the flour in recipes, we know how to do all of that, okay? So what I wanted to look at first of all is, so I just have this list here of, and this is the flour's weight before we add on any water or anything like that. And so there's actually, these are all flours that are made from wheat. I didn't use a barley flour or a rye flour or anything like that. These are all ones that are made primarily out of wheat, right? So we have a bread flour, all-purpose, unbleached, all-purpose, self-rising, pastry. I did a semolina, and cake flour, and spelt flour. Okay, so spelt is a kind of wheat. So these are all flours based off of wheat. But I was really surprised actually to see how big of a difference there was in the weight of the flour before we even added any water to it. And you know, when we were going through and we're looking at all of these, so here's my giant list. Don't worry, I'm putting something in the description. It's a link to my website so you can see what I've been able to do with this data. So this is just where they ranked and the changes that happened. And so you can see like cake and pastry flour, they were the lightest of the bunch, and they remained the lightest. They didn't get heavier as in relation to the others as they were going. But whole wheat flour, when we took it to crumbles, it went from number 6 to number 8. Spelt flour, when we took it to the dough stage, went from number 5 to number 7. And bread flour went from number 7 to number 3. So bread flour didn't need nearly as much water added as some of the others. So this is just kind of showing in relation to the others. And really what all of this data is showing here is that even flour that is based off of wheat is not the same. So if someone was going to take, for example, pastry flour, so that weighed 181 grams, and then if they decided to, instead of using pastry flour, they wanted to use semolina, 230 grams. This is without any water added, okay? And the amount of water needed for each of these was highly different as well. And so what I've done actually is on my website, I've created charts. So for each of these stages, I've created a chart of how much water you need to add to change from what is in the recipe to what you want to use. Right now, as of this recording, I have only done the ones that contain wheat, but I'm going to be doing all of this with as many gluten-free flours as I can get my hands on. Okay, because we know, like when we're using, for example, coconut flour, I had this one disaster that I used coconut flour to make shortbread. This was right after I went gluten-free, and I was like, oh yeah, just 1 cup of all-purpose flour is what the recipe calls for, 1 cup of coconut flour. What could go wrong? A lot could go wrong in that. But as far as the liquid added, I was just so shocked because I would just add liquid and then the coconut flour would soak it up and it was like there was no liquid added at all. And so that was a complete disaster. But if I'd had this information, then I would have been able to know how much water I should add. And the same goes for going between different gluten-free flours. There's so many different gluten-free flours. So you might not have the flour that the recipe that you're using calls for, right? So if the recipe calls for Bob's Red Mill flour, the 1-to-1 rice-based one, and you want to use, let's say, you know, cup for cup, what do you need to change? Do you need to change anything? Are they going to be around the same thing? And so that is the purpose of this. And so I'm going to keep adding to that table. I'll do some more videos here, and we'll talk about how all of that works out too. So really, that's basically all I had for today. So make sure you check the link, go to the site, take a look at the graphs. If you're seeing this in the future, then I will have a lot more data added on there, and hopefully it will be really useful for everyone in this. All right, don't forget to hit subscribe so you can get notifications of my new videos when they come out, and we'll see you soon.